The alien cruiser Varnek's Claw drifted through deep space, cold and silent except for the low hum of its engines. It was a ship built for war, black metal hull, razor fins, and plasma cannons large enough to split moons. But today, the crew wasn't preparing for battle, they were preparing for something worse. Inside the holding sector, the mood was tense. Soldiers moved quickly. No one spoke unless ordered. Captain Zarak, a tall, scaled officer with 4 arms and glowing yellow eyes, stood before the reinforced cell. Inside sat the prisoner. A human. He looked harmless. Dressed in torn combat gear, his skin bruised, one eye swollen, he sat calmly on the metal bench, hands resting in his lap. He wasn't restrained. He didn't need to be. The room was sealed with energy fields, and 10 armed guards stood outside. But still, the crew felt uneasy. Not because of what the human did, but because of who he was. Zarak turned to his second-in-command, Officer Keln. "Report," Zarak said. "We found him drifting in escape pod 447, alone. The pod was linked to the wreckage of the Sci-Fi, the human warship we destroyed over Vero 6. He's the only survivor." Zarak narrowed his eyes. "He survived that?" "Yes, sir. No food. No water, no oxygen for 3 cycles. And..." Kellen hesitated. "Sir?" He smiled when we pulled him out. Zarak's jaw twitched. He stepped closer to the energy shield and stared at the man. The human looked up and smiled again. His teeth were slightly blood-stained, but the smile was calm, steady. "Do you know who I am?" The human nodded. "You're the one in charge. Captain Zarak, right?" Zarak's eyes narrowed. "You shouldn't know my name." "I read your files," the human said. "You're not as secret as you think." Zarak motioned for the guards to lower the shield. 2 blasters locked onto the human. The shield vanished with a soft hiss, and Zarak stepped inside. He expected the human to flinch, maybe stand. He didn't. The man just tilted his head. "You don't seem afraid," Zarak said. "Should I be? You're a prisoner?" "On a warship. Alone." The human smiled wider. "No, you're the ones who are alone." Zarak didn't respond right away. His instinct screamed that something was off. He looked down at the data pad in his hand. Name, unknown. Unknown. Origin, Earth. Zarak hated that word. Earth. Even the sound of it made aliens shift uncomfortably. It was officially classified as a Class 10 Deathworld, the highest danger rating in the galactic code. Only one other planet had ever reached that level, and it exploded centuries ago. Zarak turned the pad off. "You were found near the wreck of your ship," he said. "We're clearly the..." "Commanding officer," the human shrugged. "I was. Something like that. We need information. Tell us Earth's next move." "Tell us what weapon destroyed our dreadnought at Helion." The human looked at him. "You think I'm here to talk?" Zarak leaned closer. "Everyone talks eventually." The human's expression didn't change. He looked past the captain, past the guards, past the walls. "You think you captured me?" the human said softly. "You didn't?" Zarak frowned. "What does that mean? I let you take me?" The room went cold. Keln stiffened. The guards gripped their weapons. Tighter. "You're lying," Zarak growled. The human looked at him, voice steady. "You destroyed Sci-Fi, or so you thought. You never saw the escape pods leave, because you were too busy watching her fall. That was our trick. You were meant to. See it crash? You were meant to think we died." Zarak stepped back. "Why?" "Because we wanted you to find me," the human said. "We needed to get inside." Zarak raised his hand. "Shut the field now." The energy shield snapped. "Back up." Zarak turned away quickly, face tight. Kellen followed. "Captain, you think he's telling the truth?" Zarak didn't answer at first. Then quietly, "I don't know." "Turn to the control center. Lock this sector. Triple security. And notify Central Command. Tell them, may have a human infiltrator on board." Later that night, Kellen sat in his bunk, unable to sleep. He kept thinking about the human's words. "You didn't capture me. I let you. What did it mean? Why would a human, One of the most dangerous species ever cataloged want to be caught. He pulled up the file again. Earth, a blue planet. With unstable weather, high oxygen levels, deadly wildlife, and extreme temperatures. No sentient species should have survived there. Yet somehow humans thrived. He clicked on the combat footage from the Vero 6 battle, the Sci-Fi burning, the human escape pod drifting into view, and then something strange. The pod turned just, slightly, right, toward the Varnix's claw, like it was aiming. Kellen felt a chill crawl up his back. He stood and rushed to the captain's chamber. "Sir," he called. Zarak opened the door, eyes tired. "What is it? The human story?" "I think he's telling the truth." Zarak frowned. "Explain." Kellen pulled up the video and pointed. "Look, the pod. It adjusted course. On purpose. He wasn't drifting. He chose to reach us." Zarak stared. "He's here for a reason, yes, sir? And I think we need to find out what it is fast." In the cell, the human waited, still sitting, still smiling. He closed his eyes for a moment and whispered something to himself. 3 words. Quiet, calm, deadly. Phase 1 complete. Outside the cell, the lights flickered. No one noticed yet, but soon they would. And by then, it would be far too late. The lights on Varnix's claw flickered again. In the control room, Commander Kell noticed it. He tapped a screen to run a systems check. The report came back clean. No damage, no hacking. But the flickering continued. He didn't believe in ghosts. But right now, something felt wrong. Like the ship itself was nervous. Captain Zarak stormed into the room. "I want full surveillance on the human," he said sharply. "Eyes on him at all times. Every breath. Every word." "Yes, Captain," Kellen replied. But then he hesitated. "There's something else." Zarak turned, annoyed. "Speak." Kellen swallowed. "The Earth file. The full Deathworld classification file. I tried to open it. I was locked out. Locked out." Zarak's voice was quiet, but heavy with anger. Kell nodded. "It's restricted by the High Council. Even your access code doesn't open it." Zarak stared at the screen. "Only one file in the galaxy is blocked at my rank. And it's about Earth." He paced slowly. "Get me a slicer. I want that file opened." In a dark chamber deep within the ship, the human prisoner sat still. Same position. Same quiet breathing. But his fingers were tapping softly, slowly against his leg. A rhythm. A code. One the cameras wouldn't recognize. Outside his cell, a guard shifted. Something about this prisoner made his stomach twist. The man never blinked too long, never scratched, never showed pain. It was like watching a machine. The lights in the hall dimmed again. The guard tried to call it in. His comlink buzzed, but no sound came. He tapped it again, still silent. He turned toward the prisoner. The human was looking right at him now. Calm. Like he knew. The guard stepped back. 3 decks above, Zarak stood over a data technician named Volek, a small, nervous slicer with 6 fingers and twitchy eyes. "I don't want guesses," Zarak said. "I want that file opened." "I understand, Captain," Volek said, fingers dancing over a glowing console. "But this is the highest encryption I've ever seen. This isn't just locked, it's buried." Buried? It's like they tried to erase it, but kept one copy in case someone needed to remember. This file, ... wasn't meant to be read. Everzarek's eyes narrowed. Read it. Volek took a breath and typed a final override. The screen blinked once and opened lines of red warning. Text scrolled across the screen. Warning, Deathworld Class X clearance. Level. Council Prime only opening file may trigger security proto. Continue. Volek tapped once more. The screen filled with images. Not of cities or humans, but of nature. Massive hurricanes. Earthquakes leveling towns. Lava flowing across farmlands. Ocean waves taller than buildings. A voice recording played over the footage. Cold, robotic, official, planet, Earth, atmosphere. oxygen-rich. Gravity, high. Temperature range, lethal. Wildlife, aggressive. Biosphere, unstable.
Ow.
Human species, adaptable, violent, intelligent, emotional, unpredictable.
Ow.
Zarek stared. The footage shifted. Wild animals, massive bears, venomous snakes, lions, wolves, all attacking prey in terrifying ways. Then humans appeared, fighting fires, rescuing others, running into war zones, climbing mountains in blizzards. One clip showed a human soldier dragging 3 others to safety with half his leg missing. Another clip, a child surviving 2 days in a frozen forest with no food or fire. Conclusion: Earth is not dangerous because of its creatures. Earth is dangerous because it created humans, Zarok whispered by the stars. Keln stepped forward. This isn't a planet, it's a training ground. No, Zarok said. A forge. Back in the cell, the human sat quietly. He watched the tiny camera in the corner of the room. He knew they were watching. He wanted them to, because fear spreads faster when it's slow, when they choose to believe it. In the control room, the ships. Lights flickered again. This time longer. Systems began reporting errors. Nothing major, just small bugs. Door delays, flickering sensors. Momentary lags in life support feedback. To an untrained eye, it looked like old wiring. To Keln, it looked like a virus. But no virus had breached this ship in over a decade. Unless the human brought one with him, sir, Bollock said nervously. I think there's something hidden inside the file. Zarok leaned forward. What do you mean? There's a subfolder marked only with coordinates. Deep space. Not near any charted systems. Show me. Volek opened it. A single video played. It showed an alien ship, massive, armored, floating near Earth's moon. It was from 50 years ago, first contact. Zarek's jaw clenched. The video showed the ship's crew, peaceful scientists. They tried to communicate with Earth using light signals. Earth responded by launching 12 nuclear missiles. 6 hit. The ship was destroyed. Then came footage of the survivors. One made it to the surface. He was found dead the next morning, torn apart by what seemed to be wild animals. No one on Earth even noticed. It was never reported. The council had covered it up. Earth's first contact attempt wasn't diplomatic. It was a bloodbath. Zarek looked at Keln. They've known about us longer than we thought. And they've been preparing, Keln said in the brig. The guard outside the human cell turned toward the sound of footsteps. A second guard was walking toward him. Expression blank. What are you doing here? The first guard asked. I thought you were stationed on deck 7. The second guard didn't answer. He raised a small device from behind his back. Black, smooth, and alien in design. Before the first guard could react, everything went dark. Power offline. All systems crashed. Emergency lights flickered on. Sirens screamed through the ship. In the chaos, a quiet voice spoke from inside the cell. Phase 2. ... active. The energy shield dropped. The human stood. No rush. No panic. He simply stretched his arms and smiled. In the command center, Zarek's eyes widened as alerts filled the screens. Security breach in holding sector. We've lost power across decks 2 through 6. What about the prisoner? Kel shouted. Volek turned pale. He's gone. No, Zarok said slowly. He's moving. El looked at the captain, eyes wide. He planned this from the beginning. He got inside the most secure warship in the fleet. Zarek stared at the dark screens. And now, ... he's free. The human walked calmly through the dark corridors of Varnik's Claw. He didn't need a map. He knew the layout. He studied it weeks before the mission. 2 guards tried to stop him. He didn't shoot them. He disabled them. Quickly, quietly, not out of mercy.
Out of strategy?
Fear works better than blood. He reached the ship's data core, placed a small disk on the main console. The lights flickered once more. Then the human said, almost gently, let them fear, and pressed the button in orbit above Earth, far below. A small signal pinged to the surface. A response came back. 2 words. Proceed, observing. The war room aboard Varnik's Claw was in chaos. Red warning lights flashed across every screen. Automated defenses were offline. Communication with Fleet Command was silent. And worse, the human prisoner was no longer a prisoner. Captain Zark stood at the center, gripping the edge of the console. He's still on the ship, Kellen said, watching a blurry sensor feed. Moving toward the aft engine bay. Alone? No, Zarok growled. He's never been alone. Kellen glanced. At him? You think there are more? I think he's just the beginning. Another officer shouted, Sir, we've located an old classified file in the Council archives, tagged with Earth and the word Operation Glasstorm. Date, 38 cycles ago. Zarek turned. Play it. The screen lit up with grainy footage, old, dusty, but chillingly clear. The voiceover was calm, robotic, cold. Council Directive 727, subdue and pacify primitive world Earth. Objective, full planetary invasion. Operation codename, Glasstorm. The footage cut to hundreds of alien dropships, sleek and silver. Breaking through Earth's atmosphere, clouds roared with fire. Civilians screamed below. Cities blinked out. In the night, then the screen froze. Error. Data incomplete, no, Kellen whispered. Where's the rest? Another officer spoke, his voice shaken. Sir, there's one survivor file. From a field commander named Graxer. Show it, Zarek ordered. The screen switched to a shaky video, a soldier's helmet cam. Graxer, covered in blood, breathing fast, spoke directly into the recorder. This is Commander Graxer of the 7th Division. We landed outside one of their small cities, thought it would be easy. But it wasn't a battle, it was a slaughter. Behind him, alien soldiers ran in panic, screams, explosions, human weapons, primitive by galactic standards, struck with terrifying precision. They didn't fight like any species we've seen. They didn't fear death, they charged us. They used fire, smoke, traps. They attacked at night, in storms. In silence, a loud bang echoed in the background. Graxer turned, firing, then turned back to the camera. They are not prey. They are not weak. They are not civilized. Earth is a hell planet, and its people are monsters wrapped in skin. The footage cut off silence filled the room. Zarak finally spoke. They tried to invade Earth. ... And Earth won. Deep in the ship's engine deck, the human moved like a ghost. He wasn't running. He didn't need to. Every door opened for him. Every turret stayed silent. The virus in the system obeyed his every move. He crouched near a vent and pulled out a small black chip. Inserted it into a maintenance port. The chip blinked green. A countdown appeared. 2:00. The human stood up, calm as ever. He looked around the room. Nice ship, he said softly. Shame it'll be dark soon. Then he walked out, leaving the timer ticking behind. Back on the bridge, Kellen was still shaking from the footage. That entire army. Wiped out, and no one ever knew. They covered it up, Zarek said bitterly. The Council buried the failure, lied to the rest of the galaxy. He turned toward the officers. This is why Earth is classified as a death world. It's not. The storms, the animals, or the diseases. It's the people, Kellen swallowed. Why didn't they try again? Zarok stared at the dark screen. Because you only need to burn your hand once to learn what fire is. Alarms blared again. Captain, a voice cried. Explosive charge detected in the engine core. Zarek's head snapped around. How long? 2 minutes. Get there now. Disarm it. The crew ran. Kellen stayed. Zarek turned to him. Stay with me. Pull up every human ship in our database. I want to know how many of them are missing. Kellen tapped quickly. 3. ... No. 5. 5 human warships vanished in the last cycle. All marked presumed destroyed. Zarek gritted his teeth. They're not destroyed. They've infiltrated. They're planting seeds. Kellen stared. Are we already too late? Zark didn't answer. In the engine bay, officers swarmed around the chip. This isn't alien tech. One shouted, It's Earth-made. The timer ticked down. 110, 109, 108. Sweat dripped down the technician's face. Sir, it's coded in Earth languages. I can't disarm this, another officer shouted, then cut the power line. They ripped out the primary cable. The countdown continued. 1:03, 102. It's running on an independent power cell. The tech screamed. Nothing's stopping it. The human walked calmly toward the hangar. He opened a panel and tapped a code into a small console. A hidden compartment opened, revealing a black flight suit and a folded escape pod. He suited up without hurry. No one stopped him. They were all too busy panicking. As he stepped into the pod, he paused. Looked back. I hope you learned something, he whispered, because this was just the lesson. Then he pressed launch. The pod fired silently into space. In the war room, Keln stared at the monitors. Sir, he said slowly, I think we misunderstood what this mission was. Zarek looked at him. Explain. This wasn't an attack. It was a message. Zarak's face hardened. A second later, the screen blinked. A message appeared, in human script. You wanted to know why Earth is called a Deathworld? Now you know. The explosion ripped through the engine deck. The ship shuddered. Power cut in half. The starboard thrusters went offline. They weren't dead, but they were blind and humiliated. Exactly as planned. The human's pod coasted away, silent as a whisper. Below him, the damaged warship floated helplessly in space. He tapped a button. Transmission pinged toward Earth. Mission complete. Package delivered. On Earth, in a hidden control room deep beneath a mountain. A woman in a dark uniform smiled. Good, she said. That should slow them down. A second officer turned to her. Should we prepare for retaliation? The woman shook her head. No, they won't come back. Not yet. Why not? She looked up at the stars, her voice cold. Because now they remember what happened the last time they tried. The ship floated wounded in the dark. Varnik's claw, once the pride of the galactic fleet, now drifted like a cracked blade. One engine dead, power at 40%, crew shaken, pride shattered, but Captain Zarek didn't care about the damage. He cared about the message. The human hadn't escaped. He had succeeded, and now every alien on board had the same question burned into their minds. What kind of species walks into a warship on purpose? Just to prove a point? In the medbay, Commander Keln stood silently beside a wounded security officer. Burns, broken bones, internal bleeding, all caused by the explosion the human triggered. And yet, no one had died. Not a single fatality. Why? Because the human didn't. Want them dead? He wanted them to feel it. Fear, confusion, powerlessness. Kalain turned to the medbot. Is the survivor conscious? The bot nodded. Barely, but speaking. Keln stepped into the room. The guard's voice was weak. Sir, it wasn't just his tech or his strength. It was his mind. Keln leaned closer. What do you mean? The guard's eyes flickered. We tortured him. Mind scans, neural shock, pain loops. But he didn't scream. He didn't beg. He laughed. Shh. Zarek reviewed the security footage again. The interrogation room 2 weeks ago. The human sat in a metal chair. Cold steel walls, bright lights, neural injectors buzzing at his temples. 3 officers took turns asking questions. Name, rank, mission, location of human bases, each time. The human said the same thing. You can't scare me. After the 10th hour, one officer increased the mind probe level to 9. Maximum tolerance for most species. The human blinked once, then chuckled. The room went silent. He looked directly into the camera. You think you've invented pain, he said, but we trained in it. Keln watched the footage in disbelief. They had studied over 400 sentient species. All broke under stress. Even hardened soldiers. It's cracked under neural shock. But not the human. He didn't break. He adapted. Later, Zarek met with the ship's lead xenobiologist, Dr. Threx. The alien scientist was pale and shaking. Zarak frowned. Report. Threx pulled up a scan of the human's biology. It's not just mental resistance, Captain. Their bodies are made for survival. He pointed at the image. High bone density, muscle tissue that repairs twice as fast as standard. Backup organs, redundant systems. Their hearts can restart after stopping. Their immune systems are a nightmare. They produce counter-chemicals before infection even spreads. Zarak leaned closer. And the brain. Threx hesitated. The brain is, he swallowed. It's chaos. But not random. Their emotions fuel their thinking. Anger sharpens focus. Pain increases memory. Fear triggers strategy. No other species has this. Zarak didn't speak. He didn't need to. The truth was clear. Humans don't break. They build under pressure. The next day, a council ship arrived to take over the investigation. High Inquisitor Thalon stepped aboard tall. Dressed in black armor, with silver eyes that scanned everything, Zarak greeted him with a sharp salute. Welcome aboard, Inquisitor. Talon got straight to the point. Where is the prisoner? Gone, Zarak said. He escaped after. The engine blasts, and you let him, Thalon asked coldly. No, Zarak said. He let us live. Thalon raised an eyebrow. Zarak motioned to the screen. Played the footage again. The laughter, the calm voice, the viral chip, the final message. Talon frowned. This was not a solo mission. No, Zarak agreed. This was a test. Talon nodded slowly. Then we failed. Meanwhile, drifting far beyond radar, the humans' escape pod docked quietly with a stealth ship. Inside, 2 more. Humans waited. 1 pilot, 1 commander. The commander nodded. Extraction clean. The man who had been the prisoner smiled. Clean. They're shaken. They know now, and the data uploaded. Ship layouts, fleet maps, encryption, keys. I also left them a gift. The commander raised an eyebrow. A data worm. It'll crawl through their fleet in a few weeks. Shut down their long range comes. The pilot chuckled. You're evil. I'm human, the agent replied. We do what we have to. Back on Varnik's claw, Zarak stood alone in the observation deck, staring out at the stars. Once, he believed humans were just, loud, reckless, emotional. Now he saw something different. Humans didn't just survive. Earth, they came from it, a planet where life itself tried to kill them every day. They fought fire, ice, predators, storms, hunger, disease, and instead of dying, they evolved. Zarak's claws tapped against the railing, for the first time in his military career. He felt something he had never admitted before. Fear, not because humans had better weapons, not because they had stronger bodies, but because no matter what happened, humans don't break. A quiet silence filled the High Council chamber. Captain Zarak stood at the center, surrounded by tall figures cloaked in shadows. The Council of Galactic Order, the oldest, most powerful leaders in the galaxy, watched him with cold, unreadable eyes. You were not authorized to open the Earth Deathworld file, one said. Zarak stood firm. With respect, Counselor. We had no choice. One human infiltrated and crippled the strongest ship in the fleet. Another voice, deeper, sharper. And instead of killing him, you let him leave. He let us live, Zarak replied darkly. That was the warning. Whispers rippled through the chamber. The council wasn't angry. They were afraid. That's when Zarak realized something they already knew. Tell me, he said slowly, how many times have we made contact with Earth? Silence. Then one counselor spoke, voice calm. There was. One time. Zarak leaned forward. Not the failed invasion. Before that. The counselor nodded. 70 cycles ago. A science vessel. Peaceful contact. And the room grew colder. Only one report survived. The report came in a black case. Locked, dusty, forgotten. Kelm. Opened it in the captain's quarters. The file inside was short, 6 pages. The words were burned into the paper. Mission. First contact with primitive species, Earth vessel. K2-219 research craft objective. Study, observe, make peaceful contact. Outcome, catastrophic. Attached was a video log. Zarak hit play. A young alien scientist appeared on screen. Wide eyes, shaky hands, standing on Earth's surface. Green grass, blue sky behind him. We landed in a quiet zone. Far from cities, no weapons drawn, just instruments. He looked behind him. Smoke rose in the distance. We signaled them. Flashlights, sound bursts, symbols of peace. His breathing got faster. They responded with fire. A loud explosion shook the screen. Gunfire echoed. Screams. Not alien screams. Human ones. They're not afraid of us, the scientist said. They're afraid of nothing. He turned the camera to a group of humans charging through trees. Some wore armor made of scraps. Some held rifles. Others just had blades. One screamed, "You're on the wrong planet." Then the footage cut to black. Zarak leaned back. Keln looked pale. We tried to say hello, and they answered with war. Zarak shook his head. It's not war. Defense. They thought we were invaders. They weren't even using high-tech weapons, Keln said. Just instinct. Zarak tapped the final page of the report. A short line written by the only surviving crew member. They didn't attack because they're violent. They attacked because they remember what happens to prey. Later on the bridge of Varnik's Claw, Zarak stared out at the stars. They never forgot us, he said. Kel nodded, and we forgot them. That's what made us weak. Back on Earth, inside a cold underground facility, the human agent, the one who had infiltrated Varnik's Claw, walked into a dark conference room. He removed his black gloves and sat at the long table. Several military officers sat across. From him, none spoke. One tapped a key, playing the report from Zarak's ship. The sound of fear in the alien voices was clear. The human leaned forward. Phase 2 is ready. One general nodded. The council. They know we're not easy. Targets. Now they know we're watching. Another officer asked, "Do you think they'll come back?" The agent's face was calm. No, not yet. Right now, they're digging through old lies, trying to figure out what else we remember. Far away, in a secret council archive, too. Elder aliens walked side by side through dark, locked corridors. One spoke softly. "We warned them not to provoke Earth again," the other replied. "They thought humans were myths, ancient terror stories. They forgot the truth." They stopped. At a sealed vault door, engraved on it, "Earth Files Level Omega-1, Elder placed his hand on the lock. The door opened. Inside were relics, broken weapons, torn armor, and a blood-stained flag with the word UN still visible, and a single hologram file labeled Project Extinction Prevention. Keln was still going through the decrypted logs when he found something strange, Captain, he said slowly. "There's an audio message embedded in the virus the human left us." Zarak looked up. "Play it." The voice was human, calm, deep, unfamiliar, but what it said shook them. "Both. You came to our world once. You said you wanted peace, but you watched. You tested. You waited. You saw what Earth was. Then you ran. Now you've come back with ships and weapons. You want to control what you don't understand? You fear Earth? That's good. You should, because we're not afraid of you. We never were. We never will be." The message ended. Keln leaned back. "No bluff," he said. "Just truth." Zarak nodded. "And truth is the deadliest weapon of all." In the galaxy's outer edges, near a forgotten moon, a new human ship drifted quietly, its surface black, invisible to radar inside. A young soldier looked at a photo on his locker door. It showed his family Earth behind them. He touched the photo gently. A senior officer passed by. "You nervous, son?" Soldier smiled. "No, sir." "Why not?" The soldier looked out the window toward the stars. "Because they're finally starting to understand." The lab aboard Varnik's Claw was silent. Dr. Threxa, the ship's lead xenobiologist, stared at the glowing screen in front of him. For the last 3 days, he had been studying the blood sample left behind by the human infiltrator. At first, it looked like normal humanoid blood. Red cells, white cells, platelets. But something was. No, not wrong. Unnatural. He zoomed in on a single white cell, changed shape, split, then merged again, as if it knew it was being watched. Threx backed away from the console. This shouldn't be possible, he whispered. In the command center, Captain Zark stood with Keln as another crew report came in. More systems were failing, not destroyed. Not hacked, just malfunctioning. Keln frowned. It's not a virus. Our software's clean. Zarak stared at the data. Then what's causing this? Keln looked uneasy. Maybe it's not the ship that's sick. Back in the lab, Threx activated the emergency channel, Captain, he said, voice tight. You need to come down. Here now. Zarak arrived moments later, flanked by 2 guards. What is it? Threx turned the monitor toward him. This is the human's DNA. Look. Zarak squinted at the screen. Colored strands twisted and folded in strange ways. Look like chaos. Explain, he said. Threx's hands trembled. I've studied over 1,000 species. Some evolve fast. Some adapt slowly. But humans, they don't just adapt, they overwrite. Zarak frowned. What does that mean? It means, Threx said, swallowing hard. They don't wait for evolution. They force it. Their bodies learn. Their cells copy stress, pain, fear, disease. He pulled up a comparison chart. This sample came from the prisoner 3 days ago. Look at it now. The new DNA was different, tougher, faster, more resistant to alien pathogens. Zarak's eyes widened. It's mutating. Threx nodded. Not by accident, by design. Their bodies are like biological A's, absorbing everything and adjusting. He paused. That's why humans are dangerous. Not just because they fight, but because every time they survive, they become harder to kill. In the med bay, another officer coughed violently. He had been in contact with the human cell during lockdown. Now his skin was hot, muscles twitching. His body didn't recognize the symptoms. The medbot scanned him. Unknown biological activity detected. Zarak rushed in. Quarantine this room. Now, it was already too late. Another crew member coughed. Then another Kellan stood in front of the star map, eyes wide. Captain, is this spreading? Zarak turned to him. The sickness. The change. He showed the data. Energy readings across the ship were shifting. Biosignatures fluctuated. Some crew members were healing faster, seeing better in the dark, reacting quicker. We're being... Keln said Zerk. Felt a cold wave crawl down his spine. They left more than a virus, he whispered. They left a seed. Deep in the ship's archive, an AI scanned the logs from Earth's classified file. It found something buried in an old invasion. Memo. Caution. Do not expose alien soldiers to human biomatter for prolonged periods. Risk. Accelerated genetic corruption. Cross-species mutation. Psychological shifts. Humans are not just carriers of disease. They are carriers of survival. Meanwhile, aboard the stealth human ship, observing from deep space, the agent who had once been the prisoner reviewed a list of new data. The officer beside him looked nervous. Is it active? The agent smiled. Not fully. Just enough. Think of it like a whisper to their immune systems. And if they resist, the agent turns slowly. They won't. He tapped the screen. Because every creature, no matter how proud, wants to survive. And once their bodies feel what it's like to be more human, they won't let it go. Varnik's Claw. Dr. Threx delivered his final report. Kalain read it aloud to Zarak. Warning. Continued exposure to human. Biomatter results in accelerated adaptive changes in non-human biology. Initial signs, faster healing, higher aggression, stronger stress response, long-term effect, unknown. Zarak didn't speak. He looked around the ship. Crew members seemed stronger, more alert, more human, and not one of them realized it yet. In the brig, the empty cell remained untouched. But the internal sensor, picked up something strange. One of the guards standing near the door clenched, his fist hard too hard. The metal bar in his hand bent slightly. He didn't even notice. Zarak called an emergency. "Meeting? This is no longer a ship-wide problem," he told the senior officers. "This is galactic." Kel nodded. "If even a fraction of our fleet has come into contact with humans, they have," Zarak interrupted. "At least 12 captured human prisoners in the last 10 cycles." Everyone froze. "How many ships did those prisoners escape from?" one asked quietly. Zarak looked down. All of them, far away, on Earth, in a black bunker beneath the surface. A woman in uniform received a message. The agent's voice came through, clear and calm. "Adaptation protocol confirmed. Phase 3 ready," she smiled. "They'll fight it. At first." Another voice in the room asked, "What if they purge the infected?" The woman shook her head. "No, they won't, because it's not infection. It's evolution." She stood, looking at a glowing map of alien fleets across the galaxy, and once it spreads far enough, she smiled coldly. "Earth won't need to invade. We'll already be there." The Galactic Council met behind sealed doors. The news from Varnak's Claw had reached them all. One human had infiltrated their most secure warship. He had escaped unharmed. He left behind a virus, a biological chain reaction, and now, there. Soldiers were changing. At first, it seemed like infection. Now, it looked like evolution, and that terrified them more. Captain Duroc stood before the council. His voice was cold, steady. He was never a prisoner. That was never his role. The Grand Arbiter, head of the council, narrowed his eyes. Then what was he? Zarak paused. A soldier. But not just any soldier. He activated a hologram. It showed images from the ship, the calm smile, the escape, the coded message, the mutation reports. Zarak looked each council member in the eye. He was a test subject. Far away, inside a deep human outpost hidden in a hollowed-out asteroid, the soldier sat alone. His name was Ronan, though the aliens never learned it. He stared at his reflection in the black glass, a scar on his jaw, cold eyes, steady hands, not. Born for war, built for it. Behind him, a woman entered, Agent Lyra. She handed him a data tablet. Phase 3 confirmed. Mutation spreading in 12 systems. 17 ships compromised. No response from the council yet. Ronan read it silently. Lyra watched him. "They still don't understand, do they?" They shook his head. "They still think I was the weapon." He looked up. "I was just the delivery system." Back on Varnak's Claw, Keln dug through newly decrypted human data left behind in the ship's systems. One file had a simple title. Echo Protocol. Keln opened it. It showed a list of alien fleets, supply routes, defense grids, and one final line. Target. The galactic idea, not the galactic fleet. He blinked. "What does that mean?" Dr. Threx, standing nearby, spoke softly. "It means they're not trying to destroy us." Keln looked confused. "Then what are they trying to do?" Threx's voice was hollow. "They're trying to replace us." On the council world of Selleck Prime, Admiral Lothar met with 2 worried scientists. "We've discovered something worse than infection," one said. The Admiral raised an eyebrow. "What?" "They're changing. They like it." Lothar frowned. "Explain." The second scientist leaned forward. "Soldiers exposed to the human mutation. They're healing faster, fighting longer, thinking clearer. They don't want to return to normal." Lothar clenched his jaw. "So we have traitors now." "No," the first scientist said quietly. "You have ... converts." Meanwhile, Ronan stood before the Human Defense Command, the Council of Earths. Black Ops War Division. "You walked onto their warship alone," the commander said. "Brought it to its knees, spread the gene seed, delivered our message. You knew the risks?" Ronan nodded. "Yes, sir." "And if we'd never pulled you out?" Ronan stared forward. "Wouldn't have mattered." The commander tilted his head. "Why?" Ronan answered simply. "Because I was never meant to come back." The room went quiet. Then the commander stood. You changed everything, soldier. He placed a black medallion on the table, shaped like earth, carved with fire. You started the new war. Ronan didn't smile. He didn't blink. He just said, not a war. He turned toward the stars outside the window. A correction. In the deep halls of the Galactic Council, panic grew behind closed doors. Alien fleets were recalling their outer patrols. Trade lines were shutting down. No official reason was given. But across the galaxy, rumors spread. Humans were rising, not with fleets, not with fire, but with something worse. Change on a fringe world. A soldier from the race Shurkath looked at his hands. They were stronger now, faster, he could hear. Heartbeats from across the room. He hadn't slept in days, and he was tea-tired. His commanders called it infection. He called it evolution. He wasn't afraid. Anymore, he was ready, and he wasn't alone. Captain Zarek stood at the window of his repaired warship. Keln joined him. They're scared, Keln said. The council doesn't know what to do. Zarok nodded. They thought Earth was a wild world, a forgotten rock. Keln looked at the stars. But now, Zarek spoke softly. Now they know Earth remembers. And far away, on the cold surface of a moon base orbiting Jupiter, Ronan sat alone on a bench above him. Stars burned below him. A message was being prepared. The final one, simple, clear, undeniable. You feared the monsters on Earth. You never realized we became them. It started with silence. Not a blast. Not a war cry. Just silence. Across the galaxy, transmissions stopped. Patrols vanished. Fleets withdrew. No declaration of war. No warnings. And in that silence, the fear grew. Because something was coming. Something. From Earth, on the council homeworld of Veltarune, panic spread through the upper cities. Elite defense systems were activated. Shield grids crackled across the skyline. Warships hovered above the atmosphere like vultures waiting for a corpse. Inside the council chamber, the Grand Arbiter stood shaking. Where are they? He demanded. No one answered, because no one knew. Human. Ships weren't being seen, but their effects were. Entire colonies vanished. Outposts deserted. No signs of battle. Just the echo of something terrible passing through. On board Varnik's Claw, Zarek read the final intercepted human transmission aloud. The galaxy has mistaken patience for weakness. We were quiet because we were learning. We didn't come to conquer. We came to remind you, Earth is not part of your order. Earth survives what others run from, and now Earth is awake. The crew stared at the screen in silence. Keln whispered, we tried to control them. Find them. Zarek said nothing, because deep inside, he already knew the truth. They'd never be able to stop what was coming. Not now. On Earth. Under a black glass command bunker in the Arctic Circle, Ronan stood before a map of alien territories. Agent. Lyra stood beside him. All systems are compromised, she reported. Over 40 races show signs of phase exposure. 17 have complete cross-species genes syncing. Ronan nodded. And the others? Still resisting? He glanced at her. They'll fold. She didn't argue, because they always did. Every race that touched Earth, biology tried to resist, and every one of them eventually gave in, because survival is stronger than pride and Earth's way. With survival, the Galactic Council held one final meeting. Emergency. Total lockdown. Their scientists had failed. The mutations couldn't be reversed. Entire populations were, showing signs of Earthborn adaptation syndrome. Faster reflexes. Stronger. Skin. Emotional shifts. Nightmares of forests. Oceans. Fire. Dreams of Earth. Even if they'd never been there, one admiral slammed his fist on the table. We have to strike the planet. Now. Burn it before it spreads. Another shouted, they are the planet now. Our people carry Earth inside them. A third whispered, maybe. Maybe that was always the plan. No one spoke after that. The whispers began on colony worlds first, then inside fleets, then among officers. Fear. Turned to obsession, they began wearing human gear, training in human style, studying Earth's languages, Earth's war. Even naming their ships after ancient human battles. They didn't realize it yet. But they were already becoming what they had feared. Zarak stood at the edge of the bridge, looking down at his hands. He could feel it too. His wounds healed faster. Now his thoughts were sharper, quicker. He could smell metal. Feel pressure in the walls. It wasn't just infection, it was instinct, Captain Kellen said softly behind him. The crew, they're changing. Zarak nodded. So are we. Kellen hesitated. Should we fight it? Zarak didn't answer right away. He looked out into the black. No, he said. We should understand it. He looked down. That's what they wanted all along. On Earth, Ronan watched the stars from a quiet ridge above the Arctic facility. Sky was clear, blue and endless. Agent Lyra joined him. They're afraid, she said. Worse than we thought. He nodded. That's the point. She tilted her head. You really believe we won't need to fight? Ronan looked at her. We're already winning. Without firing a shot? He paused. They wanted to rewrite us. He smiled faintly. So we rewrote them. In a far system. Young alien child sat by a fire on a cold night. His parents spoke a new language now. Earth-English, they told him. Earth was once a place full of monsters, but also full of strength. He watched the fire burn, and in the flames, saw mountains, he saw oceans, and he wasn't afraid. Not anymore. Final report from the Galactic Council. We have failed. To contain the human threat, not because they were stronger, not because they were smarter, but because we misunderstood them. We thought Earth was a death world. We were wrong. Earth is a seed, and now that seed has taken root in us all. And that is why they now fear Earth, not because Earth destroys, but because Earth changes, and once Earth touches you, you are never the same again.